Welcome back to the podcast. Today we got Jarrett Bradshaw on, the big dog. Not much, you?
I think my connection isn't the greatest right now, but can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a little breakup, but nothing crazy. I can still hear you.
Yeah, it's like in and out. It worked fine last night. I don't know what's up. Internet's always hit or miss.
Yeah, well, it must be an American thing.
Probably so.
Blame it on Biden. With you? Yeah, we'll blame it on Biden. He's out in a couple days anyway, so.
Yeah.
Pretty sad when the Canadians count down for that, 5 days.
Yeah. What's up? You got that car ready or what?
It's close. I'm still waiting on my turbo replacement. It should be here next week. So.
Golly, where'd it have to come from? China?
Well, he had to make them again. To make me one.
Yeah. I got you.
He doesn't have that that style and size on the shelf. He's just a little guy. Probably works out of a shop as big as yours right now. So
yeah.
But how you been? What are you doing? Make some changes?
Just doing a couple little things I've been needing to do. Nothing major, no changes really. Just a couple things I put off, neating up some wiring and a little bit of sheet metal in where I added some bars and just kind of threw some stuff back in.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you did pretty good this year. I mean, I kept up on most of it, but not so well at dig or die, I guess.
I mean,
you did good. I seen you. I think you worked through some struggles or something. You're struggling a little bit with the launch, but you're still getting down there and getting it done. So,
yeah, it was. I don't know. First round was really good, and I almost wish I would have sucked first round because what happens is you go to a race and you come off the trailer and you lay down a lick, and then it's like you want to keep going. And, that on top of the weather, just the swings in the weather and everything, and the cold surface, I knew the weather was coming around and, I didn't do anything crazy. I actually pulled power out of it for second round and it just didn't even try to go. I got lucky there. And then third round, I think I was like, okay, let's back up and punt. I put a tune up in it that, well, you've been to Darlington, I think. There's a Darlington type tune-up, which is
I've been there once.
Yeah, it's like the worst surface we really race on. So, and it went and almost backed up first round, so went way faster than it should have.
Yeah.
So I pulled even more power out, and that's when I ran. What's his name? The other Canadian, your fellow Canadian up there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't think he was running a number, which I think he went what I thought he was going against me, and it's just fun. That kind of service. Once you lose it, it's done. Like, unless somebody's just really slow, you're not gonna really screw up bad and then be able to run them down. So it was just over with. But it was good. It was humbling, I guess. I was Sunday. We got a room down. Usually I would drive back Saturday night from there, but Dennis was with me, and she wanted to make her drive back. So we got a room down there, and then Sunday, man, all the way home, I was like, dude, I was ready to sell everything. I mean, and it was like really over a performance that a lot of people would have loved to have. I mean, I went to the finals Friday night in Big Tire. All in all, we still had Charles in the finals Saturday, so it wasn't nothing that I should have been that upset about, but it was. So it was kind of humbling. I had to really the 2.5 hour ride home of me, kind of telling myself to get over myself a little bit, I guess.
But, well, you get comfortable, right? You think you always got it worked out. Like I had a good run at one point for about a month and a half, and I was, I got slacked, and then all of a sudden it got backed up with a couple first round ducks, and then you know, I go 2 rounds and get cocky, and it just, you know, it is humbling for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I never really. Generally, when I go to a race, I'm not the type that goes to a race thinking, "Oh, I've got this one." I mean, you know, as good as we do, I've never had that outlook. I'm honestly, like, personality wise, I overthink stuff, and I'm not like an outwardly negative person where, you know, I'll just bring everybody down around me, but you know, I usually assume that the worst is going to happen. So, but tuning wise, you know, it's like you think you got your shit figured out. You're like, you know, I got this. Oh yeah, you know, the car did this. This will fix it. You know, so you get comfortable with that, and you know what I did notice is I was not looking at all the data that I should have been looking at.
Get complacent. That's it.
Yeah, and there was some stuff that I mean, fuck it, I'll go ahead and say it. There was quite a few people that had some shock settings changed on their cars, allegedly. My driver's side front strut was full tight on rebound, which is a good ways off from where it should be. When I checked it that following week, I'm not saying I'm not going to say somebody did it, because I'm not going to blame anything on that. But that's one of the things that if I would have looked at data closer, I would have noticed. Even third round, when it made the pass, it just kept that wheel up in the wheel well. Like, it didn't let the left front extend. It just, I guess I just got lucky and it went, you know.
See, I feel like yours is more believable because it's only one shock. Like, some of these guys that claim that shit, they're like, yeah, all 4 shocks. Like, you got to have a big set of nuts on you to change 4 shocks. One is, you know, like, when you're a kid in the pit, you just one shock and then that's it, you know?
Yeah, and especially with it being like at Digger Diet, it was so cold, so everybody was in their trailers, and you know, it wasn't like there was just people out hanging out a lot of times. So, and I ain't gonna name any other names, you know, that said that they had similar stuff, but there was me and 4 other people that had one shock changed on a car out there. You know, who knows? Maybe we all just screwed up really bad. I don't know, but I made a shock change between round 2 and 3, after I sucked second round, I said, well, I'm just going to go back, you know, back up and punt. So I went back to what I ran first round, which was 2 clicks looser. And I never checked them after that. So, but when I went back and looked at data after, like, a couple of people asked me, or I seen somebody post, and, you know, I talked to him about it. And honestly, I kind of made like a smart ass comment on the post about it, because I'm like, there's been other times where I felt like that's happened. But generally I'm not the one that's going to go, oh, like, I don't know. It's a little far fetched a lot of times to think that. But like you said, if it's one shock on 5 cars, I mean, who knows?
Probably a pretty good chance it did happen.
But I will say 100%, without a doubt, the left front strut rebound was full tight. So.
Yeah, I had some fucking idiot do that in the car I was driving too, but it was me who did
it. Now, dude, don't get me wrong. There's been times where usually after a race, I'll go back, double check everything, take notes. There's been plenty of times where I've been 1 or 2 clicks off from left to right. You know, I think there's been times where I've tightened one side and forgot to go to the other side and tighten it, you know, but to be full tight, I mean,
on that surface too. It'd be different if it's full tight on a good surface, you know. And
it ain't like I just kept tightening them up. It was that, like I said, it was that one shock. It's the easiest one to get to on the car because it's with the hood off. It's right there. It's the front knob on the strut. You know, I don't know, but honestly, had I not fucked up tuning wise, it should have still went.
Mm-hmm.
I think it didn't help, but it wasn't. I'm not going to say that's why I lost.
And I think we get complacent just like thinking the car's set up as well before the round because you're doing all this other shit, making sure this is all right. And then theoretically, you should honestly just go check the shocks every time anyways, just to make sure it is what you wanted it to be, right? Because you know how it gets when you're rushing around. You're like, fuck it, 2 clicks this way, and you go the wrong way. And it's actually, you went the other way, but.
Yeah. Generally, my routine is before every race, I check everything. Even if I know 100% where it's at, I still will go around with my notes, data, and reset everything. Every shock, I'll go full loose and back to my settings. So Friday, I know it was good. After that, I have no clue. Friday before Big Tire. Because that was one of the first things I did when I got everything out and set up, went over all that stuff, got it ready. But I don't know. But I will say that I'm going to pay a little bit more attention. And I'm not the type that's going to, beat my chest and say what I'll do if I catch somebody doing shit like that. But my first thought is you're probably going to be ratchet strapped to the roof of my car and you're going to make a pass with me if I catch you. So, if it did happen and somebody happens to hear this, I probably wouldn't try to do it in my car again.
Yeah.
So.
What you need to do is get one of those little fucking Wi-Fi cameras with the magnet on it and just put it right on the trailer somewhere.
Yeah, we've got a couple things we're going to do. Yeah. Definitely. We're definitely going to make sure it's not happening again. And it's crazy to think, and like after the original post was made, I was thinking like, who does something like that? Is it another racer? Like, is it somebody you're racing against that, they just want to fuck you up, or is it somebody like on the crew, or is it just some random dickhead just doing stupid shit? I don't know. It's hard for me to think that somebody that runs and operates and drives a race car would do something like that.
Yeah, it would have to be crew. I think it would be a crew or something.
Yeah, some arrogant fucker on somebody's crew.
I don't think just anybody just walking around would fucking do it like that.
No, you wouldn't think.
You're playing with fire. It's somebody that knows you and knows you're good at what you do or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going around. It has to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
so I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on stuff and start checking stuff more after that, and actually look at all the data. I've got like one screen on my data log that's like my go-to stuff. And it doesn't have everything on there. It's just the stuff I look at round around that I need. But, there's quite a bit of information that I don't look at every round. It's stuff you take for a given. What the shocks are doing. If you go out there first round, the car made a lick, and I mean, what it did. Nothing's going to change with the suspension tune-up. So that's kind of where I just got complacent with it.
It happens. I get in my head a lot at the track. Obviously, I reached out to you for some pointers and help and shit, but
yeah,
I run around a little bit at the racetrack. Obviously, I'm always helping somebody, including myself, and then, trying to remember each car and what each car likes, and you go up to the track and it feels good. You walk away for 10 minutes and then all of a sudden it's fucking greasy before you get up there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just get in my head, right?
Yeah. And that's why I've kind of, steered away from helping people a lot. And if I do help anybody, I'll look at your data and I'll look at a video of your car and I'll tell you what I think needs to happen. But you can't, I mean, it's hard. Like even before Charles really picked up and started doing all of his, round around tuning, running 2 cars is tough. Like if Matt's car is there, when Jordan and Rick were running that car, it adds to it. So, like, I expect them to pull their data log and bring it to me. I'm not going to go, and if I say, hey, tighten the struts two clicks or whatever, that's on them to do. I just look at the data. But it's not bad. Generally I feel like a lot of times I make better decisions when it's somebody else's car than it's mine, because like I said, I overthink and I'll get in my head about, my car. I'll open a tune up 30 times if I have enough time between rounds, and might change something. I might change a boost number like 0.1, 0.2, just to feel like I did something. But somebody else's car, like Matt's car, Dig or Die, second round or so, we realized that closed loop comp was through the roof. It was like trying to flow 10,000 pounds per hour of fuel. And it was running out of pump, but it also had the injector data was wrong. It's got 550s in it, and it was set up for 750s. So the whole fuel table was just wrong. Yeah. And that's on me because I'm the one that tunes the car, power management, engine tune up, everything. But we switched that thing over to methanol, and it never went to a dyno. I just threw a damn fuel table together and a timing table, and we started running it. We looked at a few plugs, and it's been close enough to run. So I never really looked at the fuel table. I looked at corrections and gave it some fuel where it needed fuel. And, from there, I've just not looked at it. But so like between, I guess, third and fourth round, second, third, something like that, we realized that I completely just threw together a fuel table from scratch and put it in there. And the car went out there and picked up, I think, 5 or 6 miles per hour. Was still running out of pump. So it was kind of, either way, we wasn't to be able to push it much farther, but, but like that right there, man, if that would have been my car, I would have been a freaking nervous wreck. Like I'd have been all to pieces, like overthinking everything. But like I knew what it needed. I know about what that combo needs fuel flow wise. So you put it in there. We put it up on the brake, and it was clean. We sent it.
I try to tell people that, right? And to get off topic a little bit, but I deal with a lot of people, right? So they come to me and they overthink it, and they're worried about all this and that. And I'm like, listen, if your combo is good and the pump's good and, the injector data is right, you and I and a few other people can literally say, okay, this is the combo, this is the rods in it. It's got this camshaft. He says it's a 3,000 stall, but it probably more, probably start tugging on the motor at like 5,000. You can get a damn near, pretty close tune-up just guessing the first go-around if everything mechanically is proper. Yeah. Usually when people like something like that, I got something going on with my car. Okay, well, what's the problem? Right? Yeah. It's not my tune that's the problem. It's something that's not cooperating with the tune-up. And just like that, wrong injector data and a fuel pump. So
9 times out of 10, what I've noticed tuning, like I would say the general public stuff, the little bit that I've done, the shit is never ready to be tuned.
No.
It's never just tuning. And 9 times out of 10, you're better off just starting from scratch, verifying every single part of it before you even waste your time tuning.
Yeah, that's why I try to have that specific spec sheet, ask everything. What fucking keepers, what springs, what push rods, I want to know everything in it.
Yeah.
So.
How often do you end up trying to tune stuff with like junk injectors?
Oh man.
Like
all
these cheap
the time.
210s and stuff like that. I still see all these companies popping up with Bosch 210s, real authentic, and it's like they're $200 for a set.
Yeah. I get some people that reach out to me, some people are on budgets. So when they say, I bought these injectors from, one of those places.
These snake eater injectors.
Yeah, there you go.
The
but they
premium
go,
series, though.
I got these, and I bought these a long time ago. I'm just getting my combo. Will you tune them? I says, yeah, I will tune them, but if there's any fuel funny business, change them out or I quit tuning it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
So, and something I've been seeing lately, which is crazy to me, is O2 problems. Like not just on Holly. Like I've seen O2 problems on Haltech, and I don't know if people are just buying sensors from the parts store and throwing them in there and not realizing they're not the same.
Dude, I think everything is just went downhill in quality. Like I still feel like we're getting stuff that was like produced during COVID years, and you're still kind of getting the side effects from all that. I helped a buddy with a car the other night and on Terminator and fired it up, and O2's dead. It's reading 20 something air fuel ratio, but that's what me and him were talking about. I had the same when I had Terminator on my car. I mean, a couple years. I couldn't tell you how many passes. I never had an O2 issue. I ended up, I can't remember why I changed it. I think I did something. I either dropped it or I did something, I think, and I ended up having to change it. Bought one from Holly, and it didn't last. Like a couple weeks, it was gone. So I see a lot of the Holly ones go out, still with a lot of people. I started using the Mad Racing ones that he takes and like scales himself or whatever.
That's what I got. I got my car right now. It was one of his for the Dominator.
Which I did recently have one of his go out. Well, not recently. It was sometime last season, but I mean, it had 500 passes on it probably. I mean,
I really like the Terminator stuff. The thing I don't like about the Terminator stuff, and it's nothing against anybody, it's just anybody will buy one and try and install it with zero knowledge on wiring, zero knowledge on tuning, and just somebody that's just starting to swap. And that's great. I mean, we all started somewhere, but when you get to like, if they got help from somebody to get it installed that knew what they were doing, their stuff would be much better.
I've said that for years, like about like OM 3 turbo stuff. Like I look at like OM 3 stuff, like the budget turbo kits, the same way like the budget ECUs. You get budget people, and it's nothing against the person in general. Everybody's got a budget, and I've got a budget. Over the years, my budgets, back in the day, it was a lot less. Everybody's got their budget. Everybody's got priorities to spend their money on. So for a little street car that somebody's throwing together, Terminator's great, but most people, when they're looking for a budget ECU, everything else is on a budget. So they're wiring it themselves. They're buying butt connectors from Advanced Auto Parts. It's like it just comes along with it. So just like with the turbo stuff, I mean, that 4-valve car, that white Celine I had, it had an OM 3 kit on it. I never once had a problem with that thing. I mean, it, even putting it on, like it fit great, everything, and then, it was, you see people bashing the turbos, bashing the wastegates, all the fitment, this and that. And it's like, did you start putting pipes together and tighten this end down before you got to this end? It's like a little bit of common sense goes a long way, but a lot of people that don't have the knowledge and they just buy the cheap stuff, if it doesn't work out the first time they go to throw something together, it's just junk, just like the Terminator stuff. They fire it up and, something's not, it's not, you're not getting RPM sync or something, it's automatic. All Holly's junk. So
even people don't understand how much like stainless moves when you weld it, right? Like I weld kits together in my shop and everything is 100% fitment when I get in there. Like I don't like no gaps, no nothing. I get it there.
Yeah.
I weld as much as I can on the car so it doesn't move a lot, and I'll take it off. And even then, taking my time, doing little welds, let it cool, all this
Yeah.
shit. By the time I go put it back on, there's a little bit of fitment. But like you said, the best way to put something together is put it all together loose. Then
Yep.
you tighten the headers down first, because then after that, if you take anything off and you leave the headers on, everything will fit back up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and any kind of turbo kit that's got much piping to it, it could be perfect when you build it. After it's been ran a few times, or you change a head, or you change a head gasket, or anything. They never go back the same. Like, you always fight it. That's why I like the little slip joints and everything. I feel like they can give you a little bit of slack here and there if you need it.
double slips on almost everything now. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Even like just getting the angle right, because even though it seals itself when it's hot, when it's cool, if you
can
get
move
on it, you
Yeah.
can move it to get it to where you need it to go. Yeah. Or if you got to come out just a little bit or go in just a little bit, like you got that.
It gives you a little bit of a buffer to make stuff work. That those were big. Before that was the those flex joints that everybody always had swell up on the inside.
Yeah.
It's like I always used to see people like, oh, my car's down 200 horsepower, it won't make boost, and it's like, check that flex joint. No, it's good. It's only been on there 6 months, and it's like, okay,
My buddy across the street, Corey, that RB swap S14 that I did for him, well, he helped too, but we put that thing on an HP, drove great for like 3-4 weeks, and then he started having boost problems. And we did find some shit that was leaking or whatever, so, we got some new seals in and got it all back. And I put this, it's a 6-speed car, so I put this thing on the fucking chip, and it would have this weird sound like, whoa, 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 when it's hitting the chip, and I'm like, what the fuck is that sound? I'm like, I've never heard it before, but it would build boost and get up there. So we fought this thing for like a month. I didn't even think about the flex joint. Like, I already know flex joints are junk. That should have been the first thing I went to, but I was like going through the wiring. It would build boost one time, and then it would get hot, and it wouldn't build boost, all this shit. Well, one day he throws it up. He was having some oiling issues. I think he was spun a bearing at this point, and put it on the hoist, pull the engine out, drops the fucking the turbo downpipe off. Working all day. He looks inside, sends me a picture. There's a hole this fucking big in a 3.5-inch pipe because the flex joint caved in. He's like, I think I found the issue. I'm like, I didn't even fucking think of that.
Dude, how many times though does that happen? It's like the most obvious thing, and you just don't think about it.
All the time. It doesn't matter how good you are, man. Like, I've been building cars, and it's not to gloat, but I've been building cars 20 years, right? I was never just a tuner. I built cars, turbos, all that shit, wiring, and then I became a tuner, so I have a very good understanding of how cars work.
Yeah.
Right? But I also have 1,500 other things going through my brain during the day, running a business and dealing with customers and answering the phone when I can and still working in the shop. And you're working on this car, and it's like, I know that flex joint's fucked. Didn't even think to check it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that act like they're above making dumb mistakes and stuff like that. But
fuck, I make them all the time. Look what I did to my turbo on my own damn car.
Yeah. I've done it.
You know what the crazy thing is I did 4 or 5 pulls on the dyno, and I thought something was wrong because. Actually, I'll explain it real quick. So I did the first pull, and I got this really nice coating on the headers. Like, it's not Cerakote. It's a level up from Cerakote. It's some other shit. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
So I do a pull, and I'm like, fuck, the headers are red. Like, my car has never blown the headers ever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell is wrong? Barely made any power, right? Like, it was still coming on, but it was shitty. So whatever, did another pull. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this twin setup doesn't like, because I run NGK 10s in my car. That's what I like to run, right? Yeah. So I was like, well, maybe it's something to do with that. So I put a brand new set of BR7EFs in there, do 2 pulls, pull the plugs, and the plugs are spotless. Like, it's running so damn rich. I'm like,
Yeah.
why is it running so damn rich? So, called Nick and he said, hey, I know we were going to try these are big turbos for a 5.3. Like I was going to put nitrous on. I said, I don't think with that converter stator that I had and everything going on, I says, I don't know if this is going to work. Like it might work for like a radial, but not for what I'm racing because we really need to control the line, right? So he's like, okay, take them off, pack them up. He's like, I'll trade them out for the normal size he sells for 5.3. I said, okay. I walk over to the car and I'm looking at the passenger side turbo and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with that wheel? Get up close, like almost half of it's gone, right? So I'm like, no. I look over the turbo and I'm like, every single fucking bolt and clip is just dangling there.
Yeah.
So that thing was pushing off when it was building boost, smacking the wheel. And my theory is it was catching the turbo on the one side, and then it was still making power, but it was laggy with one turbo. But it was overfueling everything and not burning the fuel. And that's why the headers were going red.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not like anything's changed. The only thing that's changed is I got a twin turbo setup from the old car.
Yeah.
So I think it just being too rich is probably why it was glowing the headers as well.
Yeah.
Right? High EGTs.
Yeah, it couldn't burn the fuel. It was just
Yeah.
But yeah, that sucks. I guess you got your brake and shit figured out and everything, or so you're pretty much just waiting on turbo.
Waiting on turbos. I'm doing some Lexan windows right now. So I'm going to have that done, and I got to put a patch in the roof, but I really don't even care. I'll race it with it open if I have to.
What's the first race you planning on getting to?
I was really hoping to go to Florida in February, but with the way things are going right now and just everything going on and Trump coming in, I don't see that happening. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, what is there in like April? Not much, right?
I don't know, man. I don't look out that far. Sometimes I don't even know where I'm going until like Thursday.
there's certain events like the KD event. It's automatically in my calendar, right? So I'll just put both their dates. Same with all the shit in Canada here is already in my calendar. But the first race that I see is like a Detroit Milan POP, which is May 3rd. But I think what I want to do is I want to get testing.
Yeah.
So obviously, I talk to you and shit, whatever. I want to get some testing. I want to clean up the way that I do things. I got a book. I'm going to record everything, label it, just be better. Like, I'm really good at juggling shit in my head, but it's to the point now. Like, I just looked the other day. I'm on invoice like 3,300 and something. That's a lot of fucking cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's good as long as the invoices are getting paid.
yeah. Well, I don't do any remote tuning. I don't even talk. Well, I'll talk to them, but I won't fucking send nothing. You go to my website, you fill the spec sheet out, you pay. It's the only way I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I got stiff for like, I think when I made that post 2 years ago when I was using my other software, it was about 13,000 US is what I got stiff for.
How's your remote tuning stuff work generally? Like, people with just street cars, you send them a base and get them to drive it around a little bit. And then,
Depends what they choose. So I have my base with support is like that. So just on their own time, right? Like when you can get to it, I'll do a couple data logs. And if it's that far off and there's a problem, I'll say, hey, let's get online and let me look at it live. So I can swing, you know how it is, right? Like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. This is how it should be. Well, let's swing it this way and see what it does.
Yeah.
If it cleans up, well, then this is what we should check. But
so
I'll do that. Or if they, I do the hour live session or 6 hour live, whatever they want, and then just break it up into a couple hour each.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the hardest part, I think, with people that remote tune. It's like you're working, you're dealing around your time and then their time and sending logs back and forth and all that stuff.
I don't mind the sending logs back and forth. What I don't like and some people might take this the wrong way. I don't like when someone schedules a live session, then automatically says, well, I work till 7:00, so I only have nights and I got Saturdays and Sundays. I'm like, well, I'm also a business and I also work, right? If you brought me your car, it would be, you would have to take a day off. Like I'm not working 24 hours a day. I do, right? I work as much as I can, but you know, my days are for tuning and my nights are for working on cars after hours to get shit caught up, right? So
you just have to go ahead and tell them up front, like if it's going to take a Saturday or Sunday, it's $400 or $500 more.
Yeah,
it's part of it. I don't know. I think a lot of people don't understand. They don't know how to tune. They don't know anything about it, but they just think it's easy. It's just like, oh, you just put a tune up in it, But dude, every car is different. I could.
It is like theoretically, if you got similar combos and similar, injectors and all that shit, theoretically you should be able to load one in the other, but it almost never works like that. There's always something that needs a little cleanup, or it doesn't like this or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So there are some tunes that I'll send a bass tune and the guy will send me a log and everything's like 3% Poland. And he's like, this is the best it's ever driven, whatever. And I give him a change and I never hear from him again. And then I got guys that I got 15 revisions into tuning an NA car. And I'm like, something's wrong. Like, I cannot fix this. There's nothing I can do to fix this.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't understand it, So
generally the cars you remote tune, are they, anything that makes good power, or is it just kind of like you're running the mill?
I got a 2,000 horsepower big block I tune remotely.
Yeah.
Street car on top of that.
Yeah. Now, do you ever have these guys like pull plugs and stuff like that?
All the time. All the time. Yeah. It's the only way you know how it's running.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's why I see so much O2 oscillation between every setup. You pull a plug and you're targeting 13 AFR, like just an example, on an NA car. That's pretty reasonable. I like to run them just a hair fatter on the street when they're beating on them. But I mean, an NA car at 13, 13.2, and the plugs are still black, well, something's fucked up.
Yeah.
There's no way that these plugs are that black.
Yeah.
And it's, 13.2. So what's causing the issue?
Right.
And something I've also seen, sorry to cut you off, but with cheap injectors, I've noticed D-cell fueling way out to lunch. Like no control of it whatsoever.
Yeah, this is what it is.
It just is what it is. Like you let off the pedal and the motherfucker goes 9.0 AFR, even with D-cell fuel cut on. Like there's nothing I can do. Like I can't make it any better. The bottom numbers in the table are 5 pounds an hour. I can't pull any more fuel out of it.
Yeah, I tuned this car a year and a half or so ago. I mean, basic. It was a 5.3 little turbo deal, street car. And it nothing was ever like uniform. Every pool was just all over the place. So I said, you're gonna have to check the injectors. They were a cheap 210. And I told him from the get-go, I said, I feel like that's what it is. I had them flowed. They're good. So he took them out and had them flowed again. And I felt like he was kind of irritated about it. And he sent me a picture of them. And, they were close total. And I said, have him run them and look at the spray pattern. And it's like one of them looked like you were pissing after you just got done having sex. And then like one of them was spraying halfway decent. One of them had like 2 strings. They were just all over the place. And I said, every time you make a pull, those injectors are probably doing something completely different. So, I mean, you can't tune a car like that. So my go-to for 210s has always been VS Racing. They're still cheap. And every set we've ever got have worked good. So I said, man, I seen the link. I said, buy these, put them in there. I said, let's start from the very first tune I sent you. Did that. it was like there was a little bit of like tip in up into the boost we had to change, but wide open throttle was like 2.5%, 3%, you know. And I was like, that's the difference in good injectors and jump. So yeah, I think if I did it full time like you, if it didn't have a good injector in it, I probably wouldn't even do it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would love to just do that, but I got to make money too. So I'll try.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
try, but
yeah. But are you, if you end up chasing somebody's problems, diagnosing stuff remotely, are you making money? Yeah, I guess if you're, you know your time better than me, but you get what I'm saying.
I give away a lot of my time for fucking.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you stop giving away that time and used it for something where you're actually making money, you got to come out better. Which, granted, you're right. You can't just.
I don't like leaving people hanging, right? So that's kind of why I got into this business, was because that shit always happened.
Yeah.
To me, right? So I told myself I don't ever want to forget where I started, and I don't ever want to forget the small people or whatever. But it is getting to the point where there's so many of them, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Before it was manageable. Now that I got the shop and the shop's busy and all this other stuff, I can't be doing this shit. Like, their setups also, they need to know more about their setup to be able to relay the information over better. That's also a problem. Well, the car makes this weird noise. I'm like, what's the noise? I don't know. Well, I don't know either because I'm not driving it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the remote tuning business has got really watered down too. There's people that do it for next to nothing.
I see people doing next to nothing, and I just tuned their shit like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's
so,
yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. I don't even fucking care. You have at
I can think of a handful of people that I literally help, or will answer questions and stuff, and then they're on social media telling people they can tune their cars, and I'm like,
you know what? I'm fucking flattered. I'm just a regular dude. If you want to fucking take what I gave you and go make a business off it, that's actually flattering that you look up to me like that.
But dude, here's the thing: is like as far as just engine tune-up stuff, there's stuff that I will do with certain combos that I feel like makes them live, but it's not rocket science. I mean, so
it's not, but it is really, man. Some of the shit that I see come from other people, I'm like, you do not know this engine whatsoever. But, and granted that maybe this tuner got to a point with this car not running right, that he logged on and he's swinging shit back and forth, and then all of a sudden the customer just disappears. I take that into consideration too, but
yeah, if you see something where like there's a random spot in the fuel table that's just like way out in left field, that makes sense. But like what I mean is, like, I could say I didn't know anything and I hit you up and I was like, hey, I've got this 5.3 deal. Can you tune it? I could take that tune up and send it to 50 people, and on a simple combo, even if it's not exact, it's good enough to where somebody that doesn't know anything, they're going to be happy with it. A lot of people, if they can crank their shit up and go drive it to the store and do a burnout, they're good. They don't know that it might have, 100 horsepower left on the table. They don't know that it might have enough fuel in it to make 300 more horsepower than it is. They just don't know that. So that's what I say, where it's not like, it doesn't have to be, it's not make or break on a lot of combos. Something on like high horsepower stuff, it's a lot more technical, but your NA stuff, it's going to run at 13.2, it's going to run at 12.8. You know what I'm saying? So it could run, it's going to run at 18 degrees of time, and it's going to run at 24. So it's like, that's what I feel happens.
What about 50 degrees of time?
Yeah, probably. You might get some spark knock, but
I got one in like 3 weeks ago that was 50 degrees from like 3,000 and up at wide open throttle. I was like, damn.
My favorite thing is pulling a tuner's tune up, and it's basically just the Wizard 2D setup. It's like blocks of time, and like I actually did that the other day, and I ain't gonna name names, but this guy's pretty well known in LS stuff, and has a shop and tunes every day. And
fuck, it's not me, is it?
No, it's not you. He's from this area.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's like, not knocking him, because it very well could have been, something that he.
And you don't know if the customer saved over the fucking. I have this happen.
Yeah, you
all
just
the
don't
time.
know. Yeah.
I got some guy blasting me maybe last year, like just blasting me on everything he could that I fucked his shit up. And I went back to the email and I looked at the fucking base that I sent him. I'm like, man, this thing's conservative as fuck.
Yeah.
So he probably downloaded it and somehow saved over it and then up. This is why Holly needs to get their shit together with the lock. Not
where you can lock certain things.
Lock only certain things. I don't want to lock the tune-up, but I want to lock the timing table and any advanced tables I give anybody, because I'm sick of those being stolen. I mean, I showed you my advanced tables. I have some good information in there for my car, but that would also go over into other people's wheel slip shit and all that. And I do give some of that away to some people. And then, we cut ties at some point, and then all of a sudden, all him and his buddies got all this shit going. I mean, it works out to my benefit that sometimes they don't know what I got twined into the tune-up for it all to work together. But I would love to be able to lock the advanced tables and the timing table specifically. I don't care about the fuel table. You want to mess that up, you can, but you're not going to blow that shit up on my dime.
Yeah, and that's why you always have the latest revision you've sent somebody saved, and you can just say, okay, motherfucker, look at this. I had that happen with somebody, and it was I tuned the car originally, and then it went somewhere else, and then they were like, man, I feel like this thing should run better, it's not mile per hour and this and that. I said, send me a log. I'm looking at a log. I'm like, and I'm thinking like maybe there's a problem. I'm thinking converter. I'm looking at converter, and I just so happen to see like the timing number and the air fuel, and I'm like, this isn't my tune-up.
You fucking know too, right?
This is mine.
This ain't mine.
And I knew the car went somewhere else, but I was told like they had a map sensor problem, and they just if they watch this, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. I don't really give a fuck. I'm not gonna say their name, but I don't care.
I don't care about none of that shit anymore.
Yeah, but it was like, oh yeah, we just put it on his dyno because it had a map sensor problem. I had a map sensor go out, and he didn't change anything. And I said, okay, and I kind of cut my ties with this person after that, because I'm big on loyalty. If I treat you right and you go just fuck off with the first person that you think will give you a little bit of help, I'm just done with you,
and that's something I've been incorporating. I understand how you feel. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah. And and people that don't know a lot, it's a natural thing to try to go. They'll gravitate towards somebody that's telling them what they want to hear. But at the end of the day, it's like this. I tuned this car. It made really good power. We had to clean it up some once he was taking it and starting running it, because once you put something on the dyno, there's always going to be some touch ups you do to after an actual pass. But I look at this data log and I'm like, this ain't mine, so send me the log, the global file. And man, this thing was half a point, or 5 points richer on air fuel, super rich. Had enough, it's a methanol car, had enough fuel to make twice the horsepower it was making. And no timing in it. Had like pump E85 timing numbers with freaking 2,500 horsepower worth of methanol flowing to it. And I'm like, dude, you're lucky it still got heads on it. You're lucky it didn't just lift a head. And the person that helped him, I don't think had a lot of experience with methanol. So, he probably just didn't know that that's a quick way to tear shit up on methanol, is under-timed and over-fueled.
That's a good way to fuck shit up on everything.
Yeah. But I feel like methanol is very forgiving.
Yeah.
Other than when you start doing that, I think, from what I've seen. But I said, dude, this thing's probably down 150, 200 horsepower, just timing numbers. Because I remember tuning and I remember where I started. I didn't even start that low and ended up putting 4 or 5 degrees in it, and it would have still took 3 more to be like where I would say, okay, that's pushing it, where a weather change might end up getting a plug kind of shit. I don't like running them there. Even my personal car, I don't run it that close because I don't want to have to worry about the weather as far as that engine tune up. If I worry about the weather, I want it to be power management.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what's honestly kept me from doing a lot of stuff with a lot of people. Me and you had this conversation. You know how I feel about stuff like that. I hate giving somebody my best and then they take that and give it to somebody else. And you got so many people yeah, so many people that want to be tuners now.
Yeah.
That all they need is a couple fucking global files from somebody and they're sending them to people. They're tuners. They're getting paid for it. Hell, they have shops on dynos,
And they don't understand actually what's going on. They just keep running off that file.
Yep.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be in the position I'm in. I never planned on being here. I have some good friends and tuners that I work with a lot, right? And I'm loyal to them as well, right? Like, obviously, I don't share information or whatever. Whatever I get stays with my car because I don't want to give that shit away. I don't even want to give my good shit away for free. So I wouldn't do that to somebody else either.
Yeah, and I'm even very hesitant about who I'll ask for help. Honestly, the only person I can think of, I've talked to you about a few things, and Capizzi. I've asked Capizzi, and I don't know him like that. I've talked to him on Facebook a few times and stuff like that. And I hate being that guy to ask questions, but I told him, I was like, man, I just don't generally trust a lot of people to ask, and I think he's a pretty straight up guy.
That's one of my guys.
Yeah, so. When I was chasing those head gasket issues on that car, I talked to you about, I think I talked to him about it. What that ended up, about the same thing. Yeah. I think we all three had the same idea. It was just like, none of it made sense. I changed, I did everything like I knew to do, and it would still get a head gasket every time. Turns out, those heads were bought used. It was some old NASCAR stuff, and nobody really ever checked the chamber size. So with a 4-175 bore gasket, it didn't seal the chamber on the head. You had to have at least a 4-200 gasket. So I think at one point we ran like a 4-155 or 4-150 bore gasket. I mean, it's 4-125 motor, and that's why it would make it one pass. I mean,
that's what I did with your heads by accident. I installed it with small bore gaskets, and then I was reading. I'm like, fuck. It was like 2 days before dig or die, and I had to pull the heads back off and change the gaskets back out. So,
that's what that ended up being, and it was like, man, it's one of those things where the first motor was done by somebody, and then the heads were changed, and then the next motor was done by somebody else, and when it's my stuff and my guy does the motor, I'm usually there, and that's why, or my dad is, or something like that, but not saying it would have been caught there. Who knows? It's just not something you think about. You know what head you have. You don't know that somebody's hogged the freaking chambers out and welded them up and all kind of dumb shit. It's the downside of buying used parts also from somebody you don't know. He didn't do anything wrong. They were good heads. He might not even knew, it was just, when you actually start looking at the chambers, like you could tell some of them, they were like oblong, like you could tell they had a lot of work done to them. And until the last time the car was taken apart, I think our buddy Shannon, the heads were at his house, and he like flipped them over. I think him and Rick like flipped them over and like put the head gasket up against it and was like, what the hell, But Yeah, I mean, that's another circumstance of like I should have thought about that. Like, hey, why is this thing getting a head gasket? I know it's not the tune-up. I know it's not fueling. Like, we went from pump E85 because it was, in my opinion, it was on the edge of like what I'm comfortable with pump E85 as far as power. So I was like, well, let's just, that's when I talked to you. I was like, let's just go to X98. Same thing. Plugs always look great. Like there was never one time where I thought, okay, that plug's a little questionable. Maybe that's why. So it's just like the flex joint thing with you. Like I should have thought about that. Like, okay, let's look at the head. I've looked at the piston. I've looked at the head gasket. I never thought to look at the head. And I never thought to take the head gasket and put it on the head.
Yeah.
So it's just stupid,
You won't forget it though now.
No.
If it happens,
usually the lessons you learn the hard way are the ones you always remember, right?
That's right. But like I struggled with transmission issues last year.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with my transmission builder. The guy builds some of the baddest transmissions out there, especially for trophy truck racing.
Yeah.
And something just kept happening. I'd rebuild the transmission. Well, I bought my reed case used, and the last go around, I'm like, fuck it. Build a whole brand new transmission, just new case, everything, start fresh. Something's going on. Well, he pulls the case apart. I mean, they checked it thoroughly, but this time they went even more in depth, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like, the case itself looks good. Get the bore scopes in there and everything else, and spent some time on it. And, the trans brake, the one that comes out of the side or whatever, when you got in, there was a crack way on the inside that was bleeding the pressure and smoking the clutches and getting the trans brake fucking stuck and all. That's what happened to me on my last pass down here. Fucking halfway down the racetrack and the trans brake come on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking flying. I'm probably already doing 110 mile an hour or whatever, 100 mile an hour. And then you can hear my car in the video. And I'm like fucking trying to drive. I'm like, what the fuck? But,
dude, honestly, I try not to buy anything used unless I have to anymore.
Yeah.
I went for years, like when I was younger and building cars and stuff, I would buy junk. I would try to get by with cheap shit. And my brother always told me, like, I'll never forget my brother. He'd always say, buy nice, not twice, or buy once, cry once,
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, a kid, like probably making like $13, $14 an hour working. And, my brother's like a lineman making good money, and I'm like, that's easy for you to say, you got fucking money, but I'm just getting by, like there was when I first started messing with cars, there was like literally weeks where I would eat ramen noodles all week just to put a freaking stock block 331 back together because I just split it. It's like, so there's definitely, another perfect example. Years ago, I had a stock block 331 302 base deal with a plate kit on it. Had just built a new motor. I had a Harlan Sharp rocker arm, the bearing come apart in it, and lock up the oil pump on a motor. So it like twisted the oil pump off in half, split down the mains. I built a new motor. Like here at my shop, that's how long I've been in the shop. Anyway, there's like a road that goes around like an industrial park behind us, and I went down through there and I sprayed it. It was like $150 or something, but back then, like 150 shot was a lot, And that thing was backfiring and all kind of shit. Couldn't figure it out. And that was about the time, like, I don't know if you're familiar with any kind of nitrous stuff, but you'll flow a fuel system for a carbureted nitrous car. So you'll flow some people do it with the same jet they run in the plate. Most of the time, I think it was like the standard was like a 72 or 73 jet. So you set the fuel pressure flowing. Well, we had just got this flow tool, so I was like, well, I'm gonna check the fuel pressure flowing. Maybe it's dropping. What happened was I had like a 16, 18-inch braided line that I'd bought from this, like here in Mooresville, there's like Second Chance NASCAR parts. So it was like parts people took off NASCARs and stuff. And
Yeah.
we used to buy all kind of stuff from braided lines and stuff. But I'd bought a braided line from there, and the inside of it was like swollen up and shut, you know. So it was like a line that would have costed me, I don't know, $40 new. I bought for $10 to save money, and it cost me a motor, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I probably did
Yeah,
a lot more
I
shit for
do
years.
a lot of nitrous shit, but I don't do a lot of wet nitrous shit. Mostly dry
Yeah.
setups.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's where the way to go now. We just we nitrous race before EFI was really even a thing in racing. Like we were big block nitrous stuff, and you know, always had nitrous cars when we were younger. But I think that was like maybe when big stuff was like the first big stuff EFI system was out. You know, nobody was. If it was nitrous, you wasn't running fuel injected. It was, you know, carburetor, big dominators and stuff like that. So yeah, but now that's why I look back. You know, when my brother was alive, we had his car. We ran this stock block LS class that was local, and nitrous. You know, you had like a jet size limit. It could be, you could freshen up a motor, but it had to be stock parts. You know, other than camshaft, heads had to be stock. You could do a valve job or whatever, but no porting. And you know, that car at like 2850 went 520s, I think, if I remember right, like low 520s with a 5.3, you know, stock bottom end, stock head, 243 heads. And it got to the point where I just don't, like, we couldn't move enough through the cylinders. And I always wonder now, like, if we could go back and do that again with dry nitrous and EFI, like how much we could pick up. I feel like
plus you know a lot more now too, right?
Yeah, so. Yeah, and you know, you're still not going to run what a stock bottom end turbo car can. I mean, you know, I don't think that's possible, but I feel like I could go well into the fours with a stock bottom end 5.3 on a single system. But that was definitely fun. I think that's where I really learned, like, a torque converter's got to be right. Because with that combo, if the converter drug the motor down too hard, it was fucking chunking rods out of it, you know. So turbo stuff's really forgiving. And, you know, that's the other thing with tuning, like coming from nitrous tuning where you're reading plugs between rounds, tuning a turbo car is a breeze, you know.
I'm not going to lie. I still check plugs between rounds, like just to see where I'm at, you know. I throw one new plug in there.
I'm tuning a car. I'm tuning. I check them. But, dude, I'm terrible. At that 710 race, this thing was, like, so inconsistent. Like, it was all over the place. I thought the motor was hurt, which I guess it turns out it kind of was, but not in the way I thought. But, man, it was like – it seemed like it was down on power. Like, it was just all over the place. And Charles was like, when's the last time you put a set of plugs in it? I said, I can't even remember it. I think the heads I put on it after you got that set from me, I think I reused the plugs out of those heads and threw back in it. And I planned on putting some in it, and I just never did. Yeah. So I pulled the plugs out, and they look like freaking lawnmower plugs. You know, because methanol, you know, it'll rust them a little bit. You know, they were like 8 up. I put a set of plugs in, and I was like, I know this. As soon as I fired it up, I was like, it sounds different. Like, I know it's going to make more power. I pulled like 6 pounds out of the boost ramp, and it still went out there and just annihilated the tire. Luckily, you know, I went down, and I can't remember who I ran, but they spun too, so I won still. That was semifinals. So
yeah.
Then I went to the finals with Charles, and I was like, I feel like I'm so left field now. I'm not even going to really try to outrun you. Like, congratulations. So I pulled some more power out, went out there, and it got up on the tire again. I just let it drive off from me, you know. But
he's just a 5.3 still, right? In that white
which one?
The white
Yeah,
tank?
Patches is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it an aluminum deal or?
Yeah. LC9 block.
Oh, so same shit I got, yeah.
Yeah, LC9 block, regular old, I think K1 crank rods, Wiseco piston, trick flow heads.
Same shit I got.
Like that. I made a comment on Pete Harrell's post the other day, and something about, he said post something about a budget build or junkyard build or something like that, and I was like, K1 crank rods and Wiseco pistons with trick flow 220s is a new junkyard LS. I mean, it's like the go-to combo.
Man, I can't even remember. I think I spent, and this is Canadian money, but I think I spent $750 on the crank, and I spent 1,000 on the pistons, and I think 1,000 on the rods. And I mean, that thing's got at minimum 400 hits on it. It's been through shit too. Like I wiped out 5 sets of bearings in that thing, using other people to build it. And then me and my buddy Mike put it together, and it lasted a little while, but I still had some thrust issues or whatever. I think my crank was noodling.
Yeah.
So when I come down and see you and grab those heads, I re-bearinged it then as well.
Yeah.
So I opened up number 4 main more, and I gave myself a little more thrust clearance, and I mean it's been fine since. So
yeah,
it's probably getting tired. It might be getting tired. I don't know, but I'm going to use it.
Yeah, Patch's motor's got, I think it's got 300 and something passes on it, maybe 400 now. With the same bearings, everything. This motor at 710, like I said, at 710, I thought it was hurt. I got it pushed a bunch of stuff into the puke tank. But how this tank's designed, how we had to build it to fit it where I needed it, it's not really wide, and it at the back it like slants up, and then the vent's here. So if it gets a good amount in it over like a few races or a race or so, when you leave, it'll just like slosh it back up out of the vent. And I guess that's what happened, but it was a lot. So I was like, man, it's, I've had to lift it ahead or something's happened with it. And I was like, I got looking on my draggy and the dates, and it had a ton of 400, almost 500 passes on it. And I said, well, I'm going to just pull it out and freshen it up. And I found a cracked main. Main was cracked in 3 places. I don't know when it happened. I mean, the bearing had spun. And the rod bearing on that journal right beside it was pretty tore up. But it was still together, no noise. Oh, that's why I pulled it apart. I went to Ware Shoals, and the oil pressure was acting funny. Like the relief valve was stuck. So at idle, it was really low, and it would maintain like 60 through the pass, but generally it's up close to 100, and it'll taper off. And then like one pass, like halfway through, it shot back up, and then the beginning of the next pass, it was good, and then dropped back down and was like held that same 60 or whatever it would hold. So I was like, the relief valve's messed up. This thing probably needs to be freshened up. So I pulled it apart and found that main. So, which I mean, I could have probably reused that crank, and I did reuse the rods. We cleaned the rod up. It was barely out of round. I mean, it didn't like show any heat in it, but so those rods, they're Monar Power Adder pluses that have been in there. I can't even tell you how many passes I've got on them. And I mean, car makes pretty good power. So hopefully they last through this season. I think over this season I might start trying to build something a little different. I might keep this car together for backside stuff, but I don't know. I need to step it up front side stuff, and I just don't think I can do it with this car. So I'm gonna work on something.
You build another Mustang?
I'm not set on it. My plan is to just see if I can find a nice roller that's already a good start, just to save time. So I'm not against. I mean, I like a lot of cars, so I'm not against anything. I mean, it's probably not going to be like a 240 or nothing, but
hey, I just do this because I just get tired of seeing the same old shit. It's not that I hate Mustangs. Like, I like Mustangs, right? And I like S10s, and I would really love to get like a square body S10, like a single cab.
Yeah.
Short box. But
S10s are the new Mustang, though.
There's so many of them. I'm like, you know what? if I just stay 240, there's only a few of us. So
Yeah.
and now there's only one of me because I went
Yeah.
extreme on this one.
Yeah, there's only one like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like Novas, Chevy too, like something like that. I like the like 68, 69 Camaros, but I feel like they're a little watered down too.
Yeah.
I've got an idea on like wheelbase, and there's a few cars that fall in there. So, I mean, I'm open if a deal came along or the right deal.
What's an ideal wheelbase? You don't gotta give me what you really want, but something that's in the ballpark.
I just don't think you can get it too. I don't think it can get too long. I mean, and also short. You go either way. Honestly, I mean, everybody sees how good Mustangs work. They're
what's
like
a Mustang? They're
100.5, 101, or somewhere around in there.
Yeah. I'm 97.
Yeah, I think 90. Like I feel like when you start getting down in the low 90s, you run into problems, and if you get them too long, you run into problems. Now, that's for what we do. You can make anything, especially if you're a 4-link deal where you've got so much adjustment and you're not fighting the downfalls of the stock suspension style triangulated stuff. I think you can make a long wheelbase car work on a decent surface pretty good. But I feel like around what a Mustang is probably about the sweet spot to be able to make it like a Swiss Army knife. You can go
and drive good.
And drive good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get them so short, man. They just drive terrible. They're
Thomas.
They're unpredictable, I guess you could say. Where you get to where it's like, like a Mustang, you can my car will get out and it might tote the tire 6 inches off the ground forever. Like a short wheelbase car, it's like they either got the front tire on the ground or they're trying to flip over backwards. So, but I'm sure somebody that knows more about running one can probably make them work. I don't know. Just what I'm comfortable with is something in that general area of what a Mustang is, and I think like Nova, like Chevy 2, Malibus, stuff like that.
Yeah, I love Malibus too.
Yeah.
Late 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. I told Charles that the other day, and he's like, I've just never seen one fast. And I was like, you've never seen one in the right hands. I mean, so.
It's true.
Yeah. We'll see.
My buddy Austin, I think he's got 4 of them now.
Yeah.
That little red car, when we fucking get that thing, we threw that thing together for Dig or Die. Well, he did. I showed up late. But, I mean, we only got 2 licks before we went there, and obviously it was way too hot to come off the line too,
Yeah. What do you think with all this the rule talk and everything? I mean,
man, it's getting fucking annoying. Most of the time, it's people that don't even race that are chirping about it,
Yeah, that or just people that aren't. I mean, I hate to say it, but like class fillers,
And I'm
there's a few guys that win that are talking about rules, and like Turbo John. Turbo John's super smart, and he's always pretty competitive, and he's big on the rules, but he understands the reason for a lot of the rules. So, and I think his opinion is like you stay ahead of it, and you make the rules ahead of before they have to be made.
Yeah,
but
I mean, honestly,
I just look at
with small tire, man. As long as it's a door car and it's got 28, 10, 5 non-Ws on it, I think that should just be it. I don't care about carbon doors and Lexan windows because at the end of the day, the lighter the car is, the harder it's going to be to backside race. So,
yeah, the only thing I will say about rules is I do think the street car stuff needs to be split from the small tire a little bit more. I mean, if I feel like if you walk through the staging lanes and you can't tell what's what, it's probably a problem. And I say that from the standpoint of it's killing car count on both sides. You know, you got a lot of actual street car guys that don't want to come race street car classes because they don't want to have to run small tire cars. And then you've got small tire class that everybody's running back to street car. You know, it's like,
I agree with you. Like, you know, I was a street car class guy. I honestly believe, and this is a big topic and a lot of people get mad at it, but there should be no methanol in street.
no.
So as far as tire, yeah, it should be a DOT tire, but I mean, there's some IRS cars out there that can't work on a radio, like no matter what you do, right? So
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is you get into the argument that, like, okay, you ban M1. Can you drive around a car on M1? Absolutely, you can. Is it ideal? I mean, probably not. But you can also tune one to cruise lean enough where it's not milking the oil and all that stuff. You 100% can. But, and I feel like, and I agree. Like, I don't think. But then you go down that road where it's like, okay, pump E85 is not available everywhere you go. So do you ban it too? Okay, you do that, but then you let nitrous cars run whatever C16, C120, whatever nitrous fuel in a standalone tank. You know, so it's like, almost feel like if you just leave the engine combo fuel or whatever out of it and make it like, be strict with the appearance rules where you got to have working windows, you got to have doors, you got to have your dash carpet.
signals,
Like,
brake lights.
yeah, and it's got to have alternator and cooling system, obviously, which those rules are mostly in place. But, and I think a DOT tire would separate it, you know, and you don't have to run a radial. I mean, there's a QuickTime Pro. I feel like you could run a decent number on, but like, if you couldn't go drive that car around and not have to worry about getting pulled over right and left, it's really not a street car. I mean, yeah, people drive them. Sure.
I mean, I could drive my 240 around the States, no problem anywhere. But the moment I come to Canada, they're looking for those cars though. Like anything that looks like a sports car, pull it over. Doesn't matter if it's an actual race car or not.
Yeah.
They love doing that here. So
yeah.
I mean, I still drove mine around out in the country here and went and made hits and doing all that and drove back. I mean, they didn't really bug me here. But I wouldn't be anywhere near Toronto with my car. They'd take that shit.
Yeah. And the cruise thing's cool, but I can cruise this thing. You know, it's like there's drag and drive cars that make 3,000 horsepower that cruise, you know, thousands of miles. Like, I think if you look at a car, anybody with common sense can look at a car and say, okay, it's got a radiator, it's got an alternator. You know, unless something happens and it breaks down, it should be able to make a 10-mile cruise or whatever, you know. So I just think you tighten up on the rules, like actual what the car appears to be and is.
True.
And then save your time on the cruise. I mean, you know, it's like, is that, I mean, I guess maybe some people enjoy that part of it, but in my opinion, it holds up races. And then, like, what's the point? Like, if you can't go drive your LS E85 Fox body around, it's probably a piece of shit, you know? So, I don't know. I would like to see this small tire and street car splits more, but
yeah, well, I see people wanting to split small tire into the fast guys and the slow guys. Basically, it's like, no, small tire is small tire for a reason.
Yeah,
and that's coming from a guy that doesn't win a lot of street or small tire because you guys are just fucking fast. And I didn't have the car to do it anyway. So like, I just didn't have the chassis. But I still showed up, still raced. I still agree the rules should be the tire and door car. That's it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day, people that want to race are still going to show up and race. But when you start splitting up classes, I've seen it over the years in, class racing at the track. You start splitting stuff up so much, and then you go to a race, and you've got 6 classes with 5 cars in them. It's like, what fun is that?
It's not even fun to watch.
No. And it's even worse when, like, everybody likes to throw the spectator, as a spectator, or the spectator's like this. If a spectator can't look at they're watching racing and a another set of cars pulls up and they can't recognize that it's a whole different class. What's the point?
Well,
Like,
at the end of the day, we're the ones racing and putting on the show, so I could give two fucks with the spectators thing, to be honest.
100% agree. And I get it from like, promoter standpoint, that's what pays. And I get all that stuff. And I'm the same way. Every time I see somebody go, for the spectators, like, fuck the spectators. But I get it. Putting people in the stands is what makes the track stay alive and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it makes the race fun too. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, they're not the ones, that should be making the rules. It should be us.
But I'm gonna go race if there's no spectators, or I'm gonna go race if there's 5,000 spectators. There's some people that do this shit for the attention.
You remember that fucking that street race we were at? How many fucking spectators were there? They had the fucking whatever bonfire fucking shit going on right on the corner. Oh man. I got out of there. I got out of there at literally the most perfect time. Like me and Austin were like, man, something ain't right. It just don't seem right. So we got out of there, and as we were driving down the road, 6 of those warden trucks just come right by us. I'm like, perfect timing.
Yeah.
You always yell at me because I get it. Like if the cops are showing up where we are, we would have to get out of there as fast as possible. I remember when we were at the other spot, you're like, relax, dude, just hang out. I'm like,
Oh, was that Ohio, I think? Is that where that was? And I was like, dude, chill.
That was the last Digger die, because the other street race was before Digger die, right? But Ohio, I mean, the cops showed up. I didn't give a fuck about that. I was stuffed in the back.
Just my general experience, man, is like when I feel like when the cops pull up and everybody's running around like idiots, it almost makes them like, it's like it gives them a power trip. Like, oh, they're running. Like, I'm gonna be a dick. I'm gonna catch a couple and be a dickhead. But if they roll up and you're just cool and like, all right, man, we'll get out of here. Generally, from my experience over years and years and years of street racing, like, you're better off just like they know what you're doing. Like, it ain't like you're gonna run and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that guy wasn't out here racing. Like they know. So it's just like, you don't really, if you give them that power trip where they pull up and they see everybody scattering like freaking cockroaches, I almost feel like it makes them want to be a dickhead more.
Yeah.
So,
well, after the first time you said that to me, I thought about it, and then that one, when they showed up after we got 2 passes, all I was caring about was getting my car in the box and shutting the door. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear stories all the time over in Canada about what they do over in certain spots, right? Like, if your car's not in the trailer and they take your car, it's going to be in the impound and no trailer and blah, blah, blah. It's not locked. So that was my only concern, was just get it in the box, shut the fucking door, and then be chilled.
Well, here's my thing is, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a cop. This is not legal advice. But unless they roll up and they catch you actually racing, you cannot get charged with racing. You could be sitting there you could be doing a burnout. They can get you for whatever, reckless endangerment, whatever, having a car without a tag. They, none of that stuff they can impound a car over. Maybe they can impound it, but they're not going to keep it. You're not going to go to jail over it.
Yeah.
So unless you're one of the 2 guys actually physically making a pass, there's nothing they can do but run you off, or, they might, I think Jake Boswell and them got tickets for like blocking a roadway or something, with the trailers. Like, they can do stuff like that. Yeah, it's paying the ash, pay for the ticket or pay for a lawyer or whatever. But, like, you got to actually get caught racing to get caught racing, So, but what I don't like now is like all the surveillance and everything. Like, if they really wanted to, they could build a case on people. And, there's enough videos and people flying drones and stuff. I think that was the thing.
That's another thing I don't fucking care for, is like, when we street race here, there's no videos. I'm not gloating online. I could give 2 fucks about gloating online. I just want to race.
Yeah.
And I don't like the street shit being televised or whatever and have videos.
It's not what it's meant for.
But I mean, at the end of the day, they still got to kind of prove that you're the driver as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's my car. You know, I hired
Yeah.
a driver. I can't remember what his name is.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why I say they got to catch
face.
you making a pass in the car and stop you then.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, dude, this comes from a time where, like, when we were, started street racing, I mean, really, it was before any kind of online video stuff. I mean, I was street racing when I was 16 and younger, 36 now. So, but like over the next few years, like streetfire.net and stuff like that became popular. And like we would make Street Fire videos, and like when YouTube was first came out, but like you blurred everybody's face, you like disguised their voice, you didn't show tags, you didn't show street signs. Like now, dude, it's like motherfuckers will be like, yeah, we're driving to this spot on such and such road, like, you know,
in Mexico.
In Mexico, yeah. Like, and then show the street sign. Back years ago, we had after there was the streetcar takeover at ZMAX, and we were doing some roll racing then. We had streetcars and stuff, and so we had like some people at my shop, and fucking 1320 came and videoed, and like they're riding with people, and they pull out of my shop, and like they're showing business signs, like exactly where it's at, like showing the road signs going to the highway right out here to roll race, and dude, it pissed the cops off. Like they used to not ever bother us.
Yeah.
Like they didn't. I mean, not that they didn't care, but it was like they just turned the other cheek, I guess.
Yeah.
And then after that, man, it's like you take it and you rub it in their face that these people are doing this shit where they're supposed to be patrolling, and it makes them look bad. So they're going to do something. That's what happened with the dig or die races.
True.
You know, nothing against them personally, but you know, Billy and them street racing channel, they did that video and it got a ton of views. But you know, that cop at dig or die told me, like, he was like, when the people higher up than us see that, it makes us look bad. So now we have to do something, you know, not that we necessarily want to, but we have to. So yeah, I'm with you. I think if you're going to video it, you got to put some effort into really, you know, not just blatantly saying where it's at and the people that are there. But I don't know. Then a lot of people wouldn't do it because then it doesn't get their, you know, street cred.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about the clout. In all honesty, I could give two. Like, it's cool that I traveled the last 2 years to all the tracks I was watching online. Like, that's cool. But I could care less if anybody actually see me there.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, man. I like some good pictures and a good video just as much as anybody else. Yeah. We're starting our YouTube stuff back up this year. But, you know, when it comes to the street racing stuff, I just don't think it needs to be publicized like that.
It does not.
Yeah. But.
Yeah. Crazy times we're living in.
Yeah.
5 more days and hopefully another 2 weeks, and then I'll be part of America. Come on.
That's wild, man. I haven't really kept up with all the details on that, but
I mean, I think it started out as a joke, and then I don't know what happened, but he's been posting more and more like, I want it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think our guys told him there ain't no fucking way that's ever gonna happen. Meanwhile, like half of Canada or more wants it. You know what I mean? Because we're tired of this shit. And then the other, you know, the other half's the other half, but whatever. And I think they made a couple.
We just divide it up. We can take the half that wants it and then give Canada like California or something.
No,
like
honestly, just take all the people that hate America and complain about it, put them in Canada, and then they can stay with all the people that love Canada. And then all the people that hate Canada here could just go to the States because it's mostly car guys and entrepreneurs, right? So, and normal people with normal color
hair. Hey, y'all just move here.
I'm trying, man. It's very difficult to move there unless I was to like marry or spend a fuckload of money. Because there is a way around it. Like if I invested 100 and something thousand American, which is a lot in Canadian, I could buy my way in there with my business. And honestly, I should have positioned myself where I could do that, but I don't have that kind of money to spend.
So if you married, how long do you have to stay married? Like, what's the rules on that? Like, we can find you some fucking lot lizard or something. Get you married.
Yeah. I don't know how long it's got to be. It's probably got to be, like, in all honesty, if you think about it, they probably look for some time before. So it'd be probably a year of fucking around with that. And then, probably a year or two being married. But, I mean, I would rather it just be legit and then you don't have to worry about it. So we'll see. See what happens.
You planning on making Dig or Die in March? Or?
I don't know yet. I guess I could. That would be my first race. March what?
It's the week before the 27th, because the 27th is when we've got the Cletus all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive race. And that's the Thursday after Dig or Die. So
okay, so it'd be the 22nd weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
If I can get some test hits in and I can get this shit sorted out and actually get it to where I can make some hits, which I think I'm going to be able to. I mean, I'm surrounding myself with some smart dudes, right? But that doesn't change the fact that you still need to fucking learn the combo. I need to learn a new car. It's 600 fucking pounds lighter, even with all the ballast in it. So I don't know.
I'm gonna pause this for just a second. Go take a leak.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 5 seconds.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that too. You're on a break for 2 minutes here. All right, I'm back. So once I learn how to edit, I can edit that shit out. But for this podcast, it's gonna stay how it is. If you're listening now, I'd appreciate if you message my Tctuned page or comment on the YouTube channel on some topics or whatever you want to listen to. And we're back. I did the same thing, so.
I've been on here for a little over an hour and a half now. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll see where shit goes and how fast I can get this car working. So, I put that stator in, 16, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to need a little bit more, but that's all I had to work with. But turbo should be here next week. So, I mean, even if I get a dry road day out here, I don't care if there's snow on the ground. I'm going to go make some hits somewhere.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it should be a fairly power engine wise. It should be a fairly decent, easily combo to iron out. Figure out the 4-link stuff.
Yeah, I left the small motor in it for a reason, right? So I wasn't trying to pull so much power out of an engine. I could just put the power in.
Yeah.
I mean, I got no problems running 40, 50 pounds of boost in this engine. So, I mean, it'll make the power.
How are you planning on running that 4-link? I mean, you care to say, or you trying to keep that?
I honestly don't know yet. I don't know if I want it to squat or if I want it to separate. It's set to separate right now. I'm going to see what it does.
Yeah.
If it doesn't like it, then I like the squatting stuff myself. So I'd actually prefer the car just to be neutral. It seems to be what the real fast guys are doing.
Yeah.
Like if you ever watch Ryan Mitchell's car, that fucking car doesn't move.
Yeah,
that fucking back end just stays like this the whole time and then uses the front end or whatever he does. I don't know what he does, so I never talked to him. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll just see what the car likes. I'll set it up what it likes. If it likes to separate, Who likes to squat? We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's not so much about squatting or separating as far as getting the instant center length and pick up, all that, the height and all that stuff.
I
Where
have
it needs
a
to
pretty
be.
high. Yeah, I got a pretty high instant center right now, but it was just a start. It was just a starting point. So I want to let go of the button and that motherfucker wheelie on dry pavement.
Yeah. That's always good.
Then go from there.
Yeah, then you back up. Yeah.
Yeah. I want the first, because I've never made a hit. I haven't even drove the thing yet. I'm going to be so fucking nervous on the first hit, but I just want it to scare the shit out of me right away. Like, I want it to get me motivated, Wheels come up in the air and fucking just come down and shit. Oh, yeah. We got
driving the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Then you look at the Dragon, it's like a 650. Yeah.
Get you all excited, right? Like, fuck yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
well, cool, man. You got anything else you want to talk about, or?
Oh, there's always shit to talk about, but yeah, we're getting up on an hour and 35, 36.
Probably have a hard time getting people to listen to us bullshit for much over an hour and a half.
You would be surprised. I have people message all the time saying that was the best one yet, and it's like a 3-hour-long episode. I'm like, you listen to that whole fucking thing? They're like, oh yeah, every bit. Oh yeah. So I mean, just on the Spotify stuff, I'm close to 20,000 listens. So I don't know how it does it. Like, it's full listens, I guess. And then the YouTube stuff, I just started, so it's only maybe 1,000, a couple thousand listens on there, but it's growing. So I'll probably have you back on sometime. Maybe we'll do some shit this summer and we'll have more to talk about that way. Or I know you said you might give me a little bit of a hand with my car, or at least looking at some logs. So we'll probably go over some shit like that.
Yep.
Actually, that's what I want to ask you. You've seen my tune-up and you've seen some other tune-ups. What do you think about that stuff? I can be honest too. Like, I'm always looking for criticism to be better.
I mean, I think you're off to a good start. I mean, we've talked before, and I've seen some of your other stuff. You got an idea. You know how to make something work. I think you just gotta get it all sorted out and build the data. That's the most underrated thing is data. I feel like, people change combos and change stuff, every week, every month, whatever. And it's like, dude, I've had to change stuff, but that's like patches. That's why it's literally so deadly is we can pull up to a track and we've got data. He's got tune-ups from, if it's not that surface, it's similar, same way with my car, I'm back to where that's why I raced so much last year, the beginning of last year and the end of the year before that's when I went to Circle D on the converter and chased the stator around and got it where I wanted it. And then picked up some horsepower. So I just, testing's good.
It properly and using the data that you record properly as well. I do struggle with that a little bit, only because I bounce around so much, but I'm going to try and not do that so much this year.
Yeah. And testing's good, by yourself, whatever, but nothing beats just going through the paces of a race. So I hit up every little race. I mean, if there was a race remotely close, I didn't really care what the car count was. I went and raced, and did good, got a lot of wins like that. But when the race rolls around, that like something like Dig or Die that's got a ton of cars, like you feel so much more confident knowing that, okay, I need to run this time. And I've been that time here, and you can look at that data, compare it to something, whatever else. Okay, maybe the surface is a little worse, so you compare it to something. You've got like my thing is like Darlington. Like no matter how bad the surface is, I've always got Darlington data to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if you can just go out and make it around, you're off to a good start. So especially the worse the surface is, the less likely the chances of you getting whacked by somebody fast, because usually most everybody's struggling early. So but yeah, data. I think once you get this car together and you're not I mean, that last setup, you know, the independent rear suspension stuff, and I mean, you had so many challenges with it. I think you never really could. It's almost like it was never as good as it could be, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it worked good sometimes, and then same shit somewhere else. It would do something different. And
well, and that's I look at stuff like you have a tuning window, like with something like a 5.3 combo that don't make a ton of torque, a ton of power. Your tuning window, power management's bigger. You know, you can put a pound and a half, 2 pounds of boost in it. Where like something like, I mean, even this motor and wheelie now, you go from putting a pound and a half, and then you're like, I'm gonna put 0.2 in it or 0.3. You know, it's like you close up your window to fuck up. You know, and that's, you know, same way it's suspension tune up. You get a car where it's wheelie prone and you stick the tire a little bit harder than it usually does, or, you know, you get after it a little bit more. You get on the scramble button. I mean, I fought that too. I put a wheelie sensor on it. I'm gonna test with this year. I'm gonna just kind of build some data with it and incorporate it as like a safety kind of. But most of the time when I did it, it was against Charles, and I would get on the scramble button, and the motherfucker would just try to wheelie. I mean, so, but you know, that's what I say. You just got a tuning window, and you can set up a car where it's wheelie prone and where you know, get a little too ambitious with the tune up and it wants to go on the back tire. You can set up a car where it barely goes down, and you know, if you get too ambitious, it spins. So,
yeah,
torque converter. I think torque converter is the biggest thing with that. Is, you know, if the converter is not right, your tuning window's smaller. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I like to open up the tuning window as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know, you start doing stuff like independent rear suspension and stuff like that. It's
and a heavy ass car. You know, we couldn't
Yeah.
ever get the converter right because he needed it super tight up top because of the weight.
Yeah.
But then it was too tight down low, and you know.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah,
with
so
dump valves.
I think once you get this thing going with the chassis and stuff, I think you'll get it figured out good. You got an idea. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to give it what it wants. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, easier said than done.
Dude, I'm guilty about that, and that's what I will say is even before Charles really knew what he knows now, like he was always the one to like, because I came from like track racing, you know, prep. I've done it for years, so it's like your mindset's always like more, and then sometimes it's not more. More is not the answer, you know, of anything.
Less.
And Charles thinks super outside the box, so it's almost like it's nice to have that personality, you know, because he comes up with some off the wall shit. I mean, you see he's got a fucking wing sticking through the back window of his car, you know. So and now that's a thing. So, you know, at the end of the day, you just got to remind yourself, if you're looking at data, if it's spinning, you got to get it to stop spinning, you know.
Man, I wanted to get him so bad at Lake Cumberland. I swear, I was trying to drive that motherfucker.
Yeah, that was a handful of a pass you made against him.
Yeah, I didn't even let off. I did like to straighten it out, but like right to the end, we're just he was ahead, but I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate you coming on. I'd like to have you on again sometime this year if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm fine. Glad we finally got it. We've been supposed to do this for a while now, but
yeah, you're busy. I get it.
Yeah, I'm busy and I'm slack. So,
all right, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. See you.
Yeah, later. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and let me know if you need anything.